Hello and welcome to Front Row Racing. It's time for the PCF, the Project Cars Fridays League. It's round 10, the season finale at Imola. The drivers will be taken to the circuit in the Lotus 72D, a fantastic race car that I think some of the drivers will miss driving, and a few others will be quite happy that they're getting rid of this car at the end of this season. Now, I'm Front Row Racing DP. I'll be doing commentary this evening. I'm going to be joined in the commentary booth this evening by GT Gavin too. How are you, Gavin?
Grand, yourself?
I'm not too bad, not too bad. Now I've had my dinner, so if I start burping, you know why. But also joining us in the commentary box is Front Row Racing GP. So how are you this evening, Steve?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to this one. I just appreciate the front row seats I've got here, and nice to help out in the commentary.
Well, we'll see if you do help out. There have been quite a few PSN issues today, so if we have any problems, that could be why. If we do have those issues, we'll deal with them as best as we can. But if we can send the drivers over to the racetrack, because we're in for, as I've mentioned, the season finale. But it's one that could, it could send us out with a bit of a bang, because we've got a title showdown going on for the final race here. It's 29 laps of the Imola circuit, maximum points of 20, and the gap between the top two in the standings, 3 points. And the gap between first and second for points at the end of the race, 5 points. So we could be in for a bit of a cracker here. That title showdown is going to be between James Hulkenberg and Hesselden, but I do believe we have got a few battles further down the grid. Now, Steve, you were mentioning a few moments ago about a few of those. Now, I'll go through the standings in detail in a moment, a recap of last week's result, but if you want to give us some sort of bullet point information, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, sure. I did notice that Neotig just joined, and he is one of the guys that I'm going to point out. Basically, got Neotig and Duo Finn, only 1 point apart each other, one on 87 and one on 86. And then you've got Rich Davey and Dave the Harp, again, only 1 point away from each other, one on 82 and one on 81. Well, then you've got Warhouse and Andy Russell on the same points.
Well, we have, but Duo Finn's not able to race this evening.
Ooh.
So Neotig is going to finish ahead of Duo Finn, and Duo Finn did message me saying, I'm not going to be able to make it tonight, I've got to work until 9:30. So he doesn't think he's going to be here in time for the race, and he's gutted that it means that Neotig will beat him, because he feels he had the nous to beat him and Dave the Harp. What was the other two you mentioned there quickly?
Well, yeah, we've got Warhouse and Andy Russell both on 38 points, with Jason 7 points behind them on 31. So there is a lot of drivers all in battles in the middle of the field there. But even without Joy Finn turning up, we've got Rich Davey and Dave the Harp, who still could overtake Neotig. So that is something else to look out for as well.
Definitely is. Now, Gavin, if you keep an eye on the guys on track, and in a moment I'll come to you with who's going quick. I'm keeping an eye on Andy Russell at the moment, while I just quickly recap last week's result. And it was an absolutely awesome race, a race that we didn't think was going to be beaten until we got to the Sunday, the PCS. So round 9 was at the Circuit de Barcelona in Catalonia, and James Hulkenberg took victory there with Hesselden in second place. Kay Slade finished third, Duo Finn fourth, Dave the Harp fifth, Neotig sixth, and that could be why Duo Finn felt that he had the pace to beat those guys today. Jason finished seventh, Woolhouse finished 8th, and then Richie Davey and Andy Russell didn't finish the race, unfortunately, which was a massive shame, because Richie Davey was looking very, very quick. For the standings, quick run through those. James Hulkenberg leading the way in the standings on 172 points. Hesselden second place on 169 points. That's the battle for the title. Kay Slay, he's all on his own in third place on 135 points. And then we've got, as Steve mentioned, Neotig on 87, Duo Finn on 86, Richie Davey on 82, Dave the Harp on 81. And between those two, there's going to be a little bit of rivalry about who finishes ahead of who. Woolhouse, he's got 38 points, same as Andy Russell. And then we've got Jason on 31, GBM Beardy 29, Live Brian 24. Those two won't be racing. Driver Montana on 15, who also isn't racing. And then Killer Corkin on 11, who could jump at least one place. And then Temp Fear on 0 points. So, Gavin, over to you. Who have you been watching?
We've been watching a little bit of Richard Davey, first sector of a 33.9, but Casely just done his first sector with a 33.2. They are the two fastest men on the track at the minute.
Well, Casely, we've seen over the last few races, has been really getting into these cars and the Sunday cars. I think Casely could be a bit of a thorn in the side of Hulkenberg and Hesselden today.
It would seem that way. He had a fantastic showing on Sunday. Seems to have come out of nowhere, really.
Yeah, he definitely. I wonder if he's perhaps got an air conditioning unit sat next to him to keep him cool while he's driving the cars. But I mean, something we haven't really touched yet on is more information about the location of where we're racing this evening. It's Casely. He's just gone massively deep at the penultimate corner. We all know this track. We all know what happened at this track. We all know that it changed motorsport forever, and I think pretty much everybody in motorsport, as devastated as they were about Ayrton Senna and Roland Ratzenberger losing their lives around this track, I think everybody in motorsport could sort of group together and say it was probably one of the most depressing days in motorsport history. But there is a good side to it, there is an upside to it, and that is that since then, the level of safety for the drivers has improved so much that there has only been one fatality in the last 21 years, and obviously that was Jules Bianchi from Suzuka. So we all know what is attached to this race, but Gavin, do you think that the drivers, as they're driving around this track, I mean, you've driven around this track, when you get up to the Tamburello corners, which are now nothing like they used to be, does it cross your mind about what happened on that day in 1994?
First of all, it was what a tragic accident. As you said yourself, it changed motorsport forever, really. You see, for someone like me driving around this track, it's an enjoyable occasion that when you're going around it, you can't help but think of the history of it. Yeah. So I wouldn't say you think of it lap upon lap, but it's always there. It's always a conscious.
Yep, I think
I'd have to agree. Yeah. I was just going to say, I think the first time you come out of the pits and you head towards the Tamburello, it's definitely on your mind. But once you've got your driving helmet on and you're doing lap after lap, your focus is on what you're doing. But yeah, I'd have to second what both of you two have said, or third, and say, yeah, it's a shame what happened, but it has changed motorsport, but for the better, we have to say.
Well, it has changed motorsport for the better, although I think probably all three of us would agree that, as Hulkenberg has just got pole position, that yes, okay, given what happened, I think we all would still like to be able to drive around the Tamburello corner as it used to be. I mean, the racetrack is a fantastic racetrack as it is right now, but the old Tamburello curve used to be one hell of a corner, absolutely flat out.
Yeah, unbelievable. I don't think you can actually compare it to anything else other than probably the R130 at Suzuka, but with a wall a hell of a lot closer. And that's the only corner in Formula 1 that you could probably says it comes close.
Quite possibly. Okay, well, we've touched on that, and I do know that both Hesselden and Hulkenberg, they did mention last week that, I've just seen a little bit of a collision there between Andy Russell and Richie Davey. Andy Russell giving Richie a good view of the ground. Both of the championship contenders did mention last week after the race that last week's race was an absolute amazing one, and they can only hope to put on a show today that the great Ayrton Senna would be proud of. And I tell you what, if we have...
Just gone pole.
Ooh, 140.8.
140.8. Brilliant.
Yeah, the sector 1 was a couple of tenths quicker than I've seen anyone else do so far, so he gained his time there.
Well, Hesselden, he's just coming around the final corner, and he is on a timed lap, I think. He's previously done a 143.1. And it takes a while for them to get to the start-finish line. Maybe he started a flying lap. So we'll hold on, and I'll keep the cameras on Hesselden for the moment then, because I would say that qualifying here is very, very important. If it isn't sort of, I mean, it looks like Caseley's going to be in there with a shout, but if Hesselden and Hulkenberg aren't up there first and second row, they're going to have a very difficult evening of racing.
I'm just watching James Hulkenberg, who's just been coming round on his previous lap weaving and warming them tyres up. I think he's going for it here.
Hesselden is 1/10 off what Caseley set in sector 1.
So Hesselden's pushing. So on that, it would mean that Hesselden is on course to match Hulkenberg's lap time. Gavin, if you keep an eye on Hulkenberg, he's abandoned it.
It's straight back out there.
So not wasting any time is Hulkenberg. Do you think it'll bug him or Hesselden if Caseley does go and stick it on pole position here?
It mixes it up, doesn't it? Especially for us viewing it.
Well, make it brilliant for us. I think they would hate it. They'd welcome it, but hate it. But they would welcome it if one of them can get ahead of him and the other one is just behind, because then the points gap is bigger. But Hesselden, he's coming up to the start-finish line in a few seconds' time as we approach 5 minutes remaining of the qualifying session. Is this going to have been a good lap time from Hesselden? It's only a 42.1, but it's fast enough to put him in third, and I think he's going on for another lap.
I'm wondering if... See, as we've said in previous races, twisty circuits, Hesselden's not really there.
No, I mean, it's interesting you mentioned that, because I mean, I haven't yet, and we did see that in the likes of Monaco, the tighter, twistier circuits. Hulkenberg was the faster of the drivers. In the longer, sort of faster circuits, Hesselden was closer to him, or faster, a lot faster in the early stages of the season. This circuit, though, it's almost like really, really fast, slow corner, really, really fast, slow corner, really, really fast, slow corner. So it benefits them both to a degree. Hulkenberg coming into the penultimate corner. Is he on an out lap at the moment? Yes, he is. So we'll see how he gets on his flying lap. He's got 1/10 to find to improve on Caseley, who's out on track at the moment.
Caseley just pinning it into the wall off the curb.
Oh dear, not what he wants to do. We're right on board with Hulkenberg into the first few corners, the Tamburello chicane. Got to be committed here, really throw the car in, carry the speed as Hulkenberg is doing, and then back on the power, take it as... Oh, his audio's not sounding too great. But now we're heading down to the Villeneuve chicane, another one where you need to throw it into the first part, get it slowed down for the second part, absolutely committed, using all of the track. Now he's into the Tosa hairpin. Tricky corner, this one, very easy to end up sideways or very wide on the exit of the corner. And now heading up the top of the hill to the Piratella, where we get to a blind apex left-hand corner. It's quite quick, but then it drops down the hill and it's very easy to run wide. Then we drop even more down the hill to the Aqua Minerale, the double right-hand apex, into a beautiful corner where you've really got to be committed. Get it in on the apex, use the exit curb, hope you haven't exceeded track limits, and then the run up the hill to the horrible little chicane with the big sausage curbs, the Variante Alta. Hulkenberg absolutely throwing the car through those corners, and then again heading down the hill to Ravazza 1 and Ravazza 2, and the first of these left-hand corners. Very easy to get your braking wrong, as we saw in, I think it was the Aussie V8s earlier in the season, where Hulkenberg quite nicely around that corner, and then really throws the car into the final, and then it's a long run up to the start-finish line. He needs a 10th to find. Have we got anyone else? Oh, he'll find it.
Looking at the sector times, he's got it in this middle sector. He's quicker than anybody.
A 40.6, so Hulkenberg takes pole position. Hesselden, I think he has improved his lap time, has he? No, it was a 42.1 he did earlier. Gavin, have we got anybody else showing greens or purples on the sectors?
No, to be honest, and I was just watching Dave the Harp go around. It would appear that Dave the Harp has a new livery on his car, and Neil Tigg seems to have stolen Dave's.
Oh, maybe there's some dodgy dealings going on in the pit lane, or Dave just felt he didn't get much luck with the old JPS Lotus. I was just having a look though. Killer Corkin, he's in 5th place at the moment on a 1:43.542. That's a pretty good lap time for him. Richie Davey in 4th, and Richie Davey we've seen has been very quick in these cars, so Killer Corkin being 5th, it's good for him, but he has had a bit of a messy Tosa hairpin on this particular lap. Woolhouse is in the pits, he's not going to get another lap in. Neither's Temp Fear. Dave the Harp, he's making his way down towards the Rivazza curves. Have we got anyone out there, guys, that is going to get to complete their lap, because they've only got 50 seconds to do so?
Casely, he's on one.
Yeah, he's on one.
It looks like a good sector 1, not too bad at all sector 2, and he's just coming up to the line, I think.
He is
going to improve and take him to pole.
Well, he needs to find 2 temps to beat Hulkenberg, and he does!
A
140.3. That who sat in the pits. Dave the Harp's just crossed the line. He's just stolen 5th place. Killer Corkin down to 6th, Woolhouse 7th, Tenfield 8th, Andy Russell 9th, Neo Tig. Oh, is he going to have enough time to finish this lap? He's got 15 seconds to do one more corner. This will be close. This will be close. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it. No, he's into the pits anyway. And Ray is in 11th place. I heard you laughing there, Gavin. So come on then, what's tickled your fantasy?
Just smash and grab it in there by Casely. Go on, lad.
Yeah, we were expecting a battle between Hulkenberg and Hesselden. There's a massive gap between those two, but Caseley's really thrown it into the mix. But Caseley pole, Hulkenberg 2nd, Hesselden 3rd, Richie Davey 4th, Dave the Harp 5th, Killer Corkin 6th, and then Woolhouse 10th, Andy Russell, Neo Tig, and Front Row Racing RI. Now we're into a 5-minute. Sorry, hang on a second, guys. Now we're into a 5-minute warm-up session where the drivers can go out on track. Get used to the heavier fuel, get their race strategies sorted, gives us a chance to waffle. So go on, guys, what was you going to say?
Go on, lad. Yeah, I was just going to say, what's interesting is Hulkenberg he's got a bit of an advantage here. I know obviously he's in 2nd and Hesselden's in 3rd, but Hesselden's got that car ahead of him now, with Casely ahead of him. So running out off the start-finish line, you know, Hulkenberg's still got a clear bit of track ahead of him. He hasn't got a car directly in front of him like Hesselden will have. So he's still on the front row. And Hesselden's going to have to get past the vehicle. Not going to be easy to do.
No. Go on, Gav. What was you going to say?
I think we're going to be on for a stonking race at the front. I really don't see Hesselden driving away from Casely at all. I think it's going to be hell for leather.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a feeling that Hesselden's lap time there is not representative. So, seeing a 1.8 second gap between sort of Hulkenberg, or 1.5 second gap between Hulkenberg and Hesselden, I don't think we'll see that gap in the lap times in the race, because whatever the cause was, if it was Hesselden having a moment, he'll know what not to do. If it's Hesselden not happy with his setup, he's going to be frantically now changing things on his setup and hoping to Christ that it works. Which, I mean, we've seen him do it before. We've talked to him in podium interviews where he said qualifying was shocking, my setup weren't right, I made a couple of changes, bang, he's there fighting for the win. Okay, 3 minutes.
I'm wondering, sorry, go on, I'm just wondering whether we're going to get a start like we did last week with James Hulkenberg going backwards on that first lap and having to fight it back again through the field and try and chase Hesselden down. I mean, it looks like he might have the pace to be able to do that, and it'd be interesting, but he's going to want a clean start if he can.
Yeah, I mean, starts in these cars and even on Sundays in the PCS, in the Aussie V8s have been very important, and Hulkenberg and Casely both had poor starts last Sunday. I mean, if that happens, then that's going to give Hesselden a free track to go and do what he wants, and really they can't allow him to go and do that. Oh, we've got a car stationary on the grid, looks like practicing a start. I think that is Casely, you know. Let's see if we can find him.
It's not a bad idea to do that in this practice session. It was Casely.
Yeah, I've seen him do it a few times at different circuits, and as you mentioned, it's not a bad idea to do. I mean, Gavin, I mean, in the Aussie V8s, how have you find getting them off the line?
It's a nightmare, for want of a better word. You've got to get up into second as quick as possible, or else you're just getting spat off with the left or the right, and obviously with cars at the side of it, it can get a bit leery.
It definitely can, and in these it is pretty much exactly the same. I mean, when I was having a go in these cars, I did find a way where I could do a start, and it worked 9 times out of 10. But that 10th time where it didn't work, yeah, I'd pretty much end up upside down. It's just absolute mayhem, whether it be going sideways or so much wheel spin that I was getting hit by other cars. We've got just under a minute now, though, until we get ready for the race. So, come on, guys, time to think about predictions for what looks like could be quite a muggy race event. I mean, looking at the weather, it's looking a bit, it's almost looking like sunny fog out there.
I'm going with Casely.
Oh, an interesting one. Do you know what? He's got no pressure on him. I'm going to have to go with Casely as well. But when it comes down to who's going to take the championship, well, anything can happen. And in Formula 1, it usually does. There we go, boom. So I just think this is going to be absolutely, in the words of James Hulkenberg, absolutely epic.
Or it could be an epic fail. It could be one of the two. For me, here's something to just ponder on. Hesselden has been in a championship winning position before. Hulkenberg hasn't. Hesselden has that experience of the pressure. Hulkenberg doesn't. Could that play an effect or play a part in this race? Only time will tell, and we're about to find out on the grid for the final round of the PCF Season 3. The lights are on, and when they go green, the drivers will be heading down to Tamburello, and away they go. So we'll get on board with them as quickly as we can to see if anyone's having a mare up at the front. Casely's leading, Hulkenberg's into second, Richie Davis sneaking through into third place. That's put Hesselden down to fourth. Dave the Harp, he's now in fifth, and it's getting very, very busy behind him as Killer Corkin in sixth. Oh, Killer Corkin and Woolhouse side by side. Killer Corkin manages to hold on to the position. All sort of get themselves into a nice little train at the moment. So guys, bit new with the three of us doing commentary here, so you see anything, just shout it out. But at the moment, a fantastic
all over the back of Hesselden here.
Yeah, Hesselden doesn't look like he's got the pace on his first lap at all.
No.
It could be tyre temperature, tyre pressure. You mentioned, Gavin, about Hulkenberg weaving on the qualifying outlet. Well, we've got a spinner. We've got a spinner. It's Woolhouse. It's not showing me the view. Come on, there we go. And I think Killer Corkin's got a power boost penalty. He has. He's been dropped down to the back of the grid. He's getting busy up at the Variante Outer. That's a place where we could see quite a few drivers getting power boost penalties, but we've got two cars attacking each other and then another three attacking each other, and that looks like Neotig, Front Row Racing RI and Temp Fear going absolutely nose to tail through the final couple of corners.
So one battle I wanted to keep an eye on was Woolhouse and Andy Russell, and they are pretty much side by side. Well, they were side by side. It looks like Andy Russell might have had a power boost penalty for a moment then.
Oh, the battle behind them. Sorry, the battle behind them. Oh, I thought it was going to brew up at the back. Killer Corkin coming under pressure from Temp Fear. No, Killer Corkin's overtaken Temp Fear.
Just go straight on.
Oh, Killer Corkin spun. So Ray and Killer Corkin have both gone off. That drops them down to 10th and 11th. I'm going to have a quick look up at the front. Hulkenberg, Richie Davey, Caseley pulling up. Caseley's opening up a gap. Dave the Harp, he's up to 4th place. That's put Hesselden down to 5th. This is disastrous start of the race for Hesselden. How does he work his way back into this one, guys?
Oh, big accident.
We all saw that one.
It was Woolhouse, and he hit the rear of
Pabu's penalty.
Russell.
Pabu's penalty for the both of them. Oh, and the car behind. I think that may have been... No, it wasn't Neotic. That was Temp Fear having an in-the-road chicane to go through. Managed to get through. Now he's trying an overtake. Oh, we've got a big crash. Big crash. That was unfortunate for Temp Fear there. But that was a big one, that was. 2 big crashes.
And it looks like Woolhouse managed to get away with that second one there. Everyone was disappearing off in front of him.
Oh, sorry to put in Hesselden. He's gone for a sneaky look up the inside of Dave the Harp. It hasn't worked. I think the pressure's getting to him.
Well, you were thinking that the pressure might have been getting to James Hulkenberg, who's not been in the championship position before, but he's looking quite comfortable in his current 2nd place.
Caseley's looking racy though. Very racy.
What are we looking at for sector times, Gavin, in these opening couple of laps?
No one putting anything spectacular. Caseley's last lap was a 42.0. Hulkenberg was a 42.1. Pretty much similar up front. It's just with that gap he's got out on the opening lap.
I tell you what, Richie Davey, he's on his best is a 43.2. But I mean, for Hulkenberg in this situation, he doesn't have to do anything. But he can't afford to let Richie Davey catch him up, because if Richie catches him, he's going to go for it. Dave the Harpies in the one... Go on.
I was just going to say, if Richie Davey does catch him up, you know what Richie Davey can be like when he goes for an overtake. Not saying overly aggressive, but he'll go for it. I mean, if you're Hulkenberg, wouldn't you rather just go, do you know what, my battle isn't against you today, go past me, I just need to stay ahead of Hesselden.
Quite possibly.
That's what you need to do sometimes to win a championship.
But then, I mean, moving this on to you, Gavin, I'll let you answer this. Does that drop him into the Senna situation from Monaco from years ago? Oh, Woolhouse into the barrier. Where he was winning Monaco by an absolute mile. They said, just take it easy, get to the end, and he crashed. Could that happen if Hulkenberg allows Richie Davey to just go past him?
It's a season decider. Absolutely anything can happen in this race. Absolutely anything.
It definitely can, and it definitely will. Okay, I'm looking at Front Row Racing RI, who's managed to get himself back up to 7th place. Woolhouse just had a bit of a moment. That's dropped him down to 8th place. Killer Corkin, he's recovered from his spin, so he's on pace with Ray at the moment. They both spun at the same time, but that's a nice little battle brewing there. Oh, Woolhouse is looking for the move. He's making a move. He's got much better straight line speed than Front Row Racing RI, and here comes Killer Corkin now as well, also with much better straight line speed heading into the Tamburello corners. Woolhouse looking a little bit unconfident on turning. That's going to give Killer Corkin confidence, but I think for Front Row Racing RI, I mean, it's a bit of a last late call into the race for him, so I don't think he's got gears set up particularly for this track. But Killer Corkin looking very racy at the moment. Maybe able to throw it up the inside of the hairpin. He's having a look. Woolhouse getting out of shape. That'll give Killer Corkin a chance to make a move on the exit. He can't quite get it done, but now he's got to be careful of Ray behind him.
I get the feeling here that Richie Davey is sensing catching James Hulkenberg here. In the last lap, he just seems to be edging ever so closer to him with every given corner.
Okay, well, you keep an eye on that one for us, Gabby, because this battle is getting closer and closer. Oh, Killer Corkin just ran a little bit wide. That's going to give Ray off a chance. No, Ray spun it. He's into the barrier, but here comes Temp Fear now. So Ray's been knocked out of this battle. Temp Fear's been promoted into it, but Killer Corkin's locked up, gone deep. That's straight over the chicane. That could be a power boost penalty. Right, let's go and have a look at these gaps that Gavin was talking about, Caseley's absolutely storming away with it at the moment. 141.4. Hulkenberg still on the 42.1, and he has got Richie Davey right behind him. So talk us through a bit of this action. You two are too polite.
Sorry.
Oh,
I was actually looking.
Good wide. Richie Davey through.
Now, was that a mistake? Do you guys think that was a mistake, or do you think that was Hulkenberg going? So there's no hint of a, oh, I'll let you go. You go and catch Caseley.
Yeah, you're just speculating there, aren't you? Unless you got some insider information.
Nope, I'm speculating.
See, I would think it would be more likely that he's going to not want to be involved in a battle. He doesn't want to have damage. He doesn't want to get in a situation where he hinders himself for the rest of the race. And it's one of those where, as a racing driver, you want to win the races, but your main target is the title. And that's what's on his mind more than anything at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, this is a race where it doesn't matter who wins it.
Rich Davies gone wide. So did.
He's got away with that. He's very, very lucky.
Yeah. Just something I want to just ask at this point. We're into 4 laps into this race at the moment. Strategy and tyre wear. I mean, I'm not as familiar with these cars as you two and the tyre wear. But I mean, what are we thinking for sort of like tyre life?
2 stops, I think.
I would go with that.
Yeah. I mean, on the average over the course of a season has been 2 stops. I can't see this track being one that's going to punish the tyres too much. It's not like there's any long corners. So I think the tyres will last quite well. And there is only 1 compound of slick tyre. And then a compound of wet tyres. Oh, I'll tell you what, we've got a battle going on again. 7th, 8th and 9th. Yep, well, Woolhouse has opened up a little bit of a gap, but Killer Corkin, he's just managed to get ahead of Temp Fear. So these guys still going at it. And here's a question for you, Steve. Do you think Killer Corkin is in front of Temp Fear at the moment? Do you think, oh, Woolhouse, he's spun! He's off!
Yeah, sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, I was just about to say, I was going to ask you whether you think Killer Corker might be sat in his car at the moment going, you might be the FRR F1 World Championship champion, but I'm still faster than you on project cars.
I think he'll be putting a smile on Killer Corkin's face for sure. Definitely. If he can finish the race ahead of him. It's all about getting to the end.
True, we've got our first pit stopper, Front Row Racing RI. He's into the pits. Andy Russell has just passed him, and that is unless Andy Russell has made a stop as well.
I believe he may have done.
Okay.
I believe he may have done after he had damage.
Right, so pitting for damage potentially then. That could be what Ray has pitted for as well. He did have a big crash a lap ago, so it could have been his reason for pitting.
Off. Whoa. Come off the curb, it's into the barrier. The cameraman's not showing me anything, he's just rejoined back to track. But he's lost so much ground.
That must have been a big off. He was stationary when I got on board with him. Do you think he's got any damage?
I think he'd already slowed down enough to lessen the damage on the car, but he's lost so much ground.
This will be a nervous point of the race for him now. Because that's going to be in his mind now every time he goes around that corner. David Harp, he's running in 4th, but I tell you what, Hesselden, who's in 5th, has got Neotig right on the back of him. So I know for the viewers this may not seem like the epic up at the front overtaking racing wheel to wheel that we was expecting. We're experiencing a different type of race here. This is a race of the mind for Hesselden and Hulkenberg, because someone like Hesselden, who's got Neotig trying to overtake him, I mean, this is painful for Hesselden right now, isn't it? I think we'd all agree, this is painful for Hesselden. He doesn't seem to have the pace.
He doesn't.
Not
I think
all around the circuit.
For Hesselden, he's just been overtaken by Neotig. He's down to 6th place now. I think he could be troubled here. He's just got to hope. He's just got to hope that Hulkenberg doesn't make it to the end. because he's not got the pace to pull it back at all.
Well, I was going to hint on that. Hesselden, this is painful for him right now. This is hurting him mentally, physically. This is painful for him. As Richie Davey is catching up to Caseley up at the front. Yeah, this is painful for Hesselden, but it would only take a minor moment from Hulkenberg to turn all that pain into absolute pleasure, because Hesselden has no idea what's happening with Hulkenberg at the moment. So if it turns around and they end up near each other on track later on, the emotions will change. Hulkenberg in the opening couple of laps was absolutely loving it. Richie Davies taken... No, he's not taking the lead. My apologies. He's not catching up to the leader. He's just lapped Ray. Sorry. Well, you wouldn't be a commentator if you didn't add excitement where there should be none. Okay, what was I saying? Yeah, for Hulkenberg, very early on in the race, absolutely loving it, totally over the moon. Now he's in a situation where this is painful for him. He's just had a big crash, managed to get away with no damage by the looks of things, or if he's got damage, he feels he needs to stay out and get to the pit stops. Oh, he's had a power boost penalty. Damage. He's got a power boost penalty, that I know for sure. Go on, Gavin.
His first sector on this lap was a 38.2 and Hesselden's is a 35.8. So that, I mean, James Hulkenberg is losing time in that first sector and waiting for the second sector to come up anytime soon. His second sector didn't come up. Maybe that's because of the power boost penalty. But yeah, to give you an idea, Caseley's first sector was in the 33s. James Hulkenberg was in the 38s. So
Gavin,
massive difference.
Gavin, you were about to say something a moment ago. So what's on your mind? What do you think's playing out here?
In regards to Hesselden, I don't know why I'm thinking this, but I could be way off the mark. Do you think he might be planning on pulling a one stop?
Ooh.
He has been going seriously slow for him.
Conservative, would you say?
Yeah, extremely so. But you would have to be that conservative around this track.
He's had a spin, he's in the gravel. If he was driving, if he was going for a one stop, that's not going to have helped. He's now been overtaken by Killer Corkin. So Hesselden's now down to 7th. Well, actually, I mean, these cars, I mean, he's off again, he's in the gravel again.
He's struggling.
We have had Hulkenberg say earlier on in this season that he found out with these cars, you had to push them, because if you didn't, you'd spin. They respond better to being pushed and really being driven around the track. So you might have been right there, Gavin, that he's thinking of going a one-stop, driving to a set sort of lap time to make sure the tyres last. But because he's not pushing, it led to that situation of having a bit of a spin on a curb. The tyres then cool down, and that's what causes the understeer for the next off. Let's see, let's have a quick run through the order, shall we? Caseley, he's still leading. No, he's not. Richie Davey is leading. Caseley is in the pits. So our first of the leaders to pit has done at the end of lap 9, I believe. So Richie Davey in the lead, Caseley second. Here comes Hulkenberg. So Caseley's effectively worked out a whole pit stop on James Hulkenberg. That's how much Hulkenberg has been struggling. But Hulkenberg now second, Caseley third. I think that'll switch. Oh, crash! Collision! They're both into the barrier. Oh dear! I think that
Hesselden's in the pits as well.
Okay, so Hesselden is in the pits, but
each other again.
Yeah, that collision there just happened to happen. I think they've both got damage. They've got damage. Either that or they're both trying to sort of say, you go. No, I think they've got damage. That's
massive damage by the looks of things. Oh, the crawling. Oh, look at the state of Caseley's car at the front.
This is disastrous for Caseley. It's disastrous for Hulkenberg. Killer Corkin's catching up to the both of them. I mean, I tell you what, actually, they both could have had extremely large power boost penalties. No, Hulkenberg, he's got serious damage. He's struggling to go in a straight line. Oh dear, oh dear. Right, Dave the Harp, he's in 5th, and he's got Neotig right behind him.
That's your championship incident right there by the looks of things.
What I find interesting...
catch up on something? Sorry. I mean, who was it that was pitting there? 'Cause I said Hesselden pitted, but I don't know during that incident whether somebody was on the way out of the pits.
Casey had just come out of the pits. Hulkenberg hadn't. So Casey had opened up a big enough gap to basically pit and come out right behind Hulkenberg, which means he had a big enough gap to pit and be ahead of Hesselden. What I'm interested in now is whether Hulkenberg and Casey had a big enough gap to be able to pit now and still come out ahead of Hesselden. Killer Corkin...
I can tell you, but my app has gone sit.
Okay. I don't think they can.
Hang on. Killer Corkin, he's gone into 2nd place. Casey, he's into the pits, so that's definitely for repairing damage. Dave the Harp, he's up to 4th place. Neotig's in 5th. Hulkenberg is only just now getting to the final corner. He's going to be heading into the pits as well. For Hulkenberg and Casey, going to be very long pit stops. Woolhouse in 7th place, coming round the final corner. He's going to gain a position, and here comes Hesselden. He's now round the final corner. He will have no idea of what has happened, but he's about to find out as he goes past the pit lane, and he gains 2 positions on Hulkenberg and on Casey. This has now just switched into the hands of Hesselden because Casey has come out the pits right behind him, and Hulkenberg is still stationary in the pit lane. Now you can go on.
Hulkenberg's pit stop's massive. Lots of damage then on that car.
Well, that just turned it all on its head extremely quickly.
Oh yes. But to make things even more interesting, or just to let people know, right guys, can you tell me exactly what position? I mean, Hesselden, he's in 6th place right now. What position is Hulkenberg in?
9th.
Okay. Yeah. If they finished in the positions they are in now, Hesselden would score 10 points.
Yeah.
And Hulkenberg would score 7 points, and the gap between the two of them is 3 points. So this is not over by a long shot.
Do we know which of the drivers have won more races?
No. I've not gone through looking at that. I'll tell you what, you can do that now. Or Casey's trying to attack. Casey's trying to attack Hesselden, but it looks like Casey's got a lot of lag going on now. Hopefully that's not going to affect his or anybody else's race. Hulkenberg is going to be absolutely hurting right now. I mentioned earlier that their emotions could switch around, and I can pretty much guarantee you they have done. But right now, Richie Davey, he's leading this race, and he's got Killer Corkin in 2nd place.
Just gone off at exactly the same place that Hesselden did earlier on. Also had a little bit of lag involved in that, I think, as well.
Okay, so Casey definitely struggling a little bit now. I'm just wondering, I think Richie Davey may have made a pit stop, which is what has created the gap between himself and Killer Corkin to be as short as it is. I'm not sure if Killer Corkin has pitted yet. But this race is turned on its head so many times and could still turn on its head. I mean, it would be very, very odd to end up doing a podium interview if Hulkenberg and Hesselden don't finish in the top 3.
We'll have a championship winner here. Won't even be able to speak to him.
I think we'll sort something out for that. Dave the Harp, he's running in 3rd place, and Neotig, the gap between Dave the Harp and Neotig has pretty much stayed the same, and I don't believe these guys have pitted. Now, Gavin, you mentioned earlier about would anybody be going for the 1-stops. If these guys haven't pitted, let's see, they would have done 11 laps already, make that 12. Well, yeah, 11 laps, so they'd have to go for, what, another 3 or 4 if they're 1-stopping?
It depends on whether you want to give yourself that reasonably decent tyres for the last 2 or 3 laps, in case you are involved in taking someone down. But it is a big ask to pull a one-stop out in this track.
Hesselden and K-Slate getting very, very close. I tell you what, I mean, K-Slate, he's not had a lot of luck in the races recently. The amount of times he's been dropped to the back of a grid or got damaged, and it's happened again here. Oh, I don't know if that's a little bit of lag or if he's going off.
Can't see him.
I think it's a little bit of both. He's definitely got some lag on his car, so difficult to know exactly where he is. I think he is still right behind Hesselden.
Yeah, he is on my screen.
Andy Russell, he's running in 10th with Front Row Racing RI in 11th. Let's see. Woolhouse, he's running in 5th at the moment, so the battle between Woolhouse and Andy Russell is in Woolhouse's favour at the moment. Hesselden and Kay Slay still kind of going at it. Hopefully they can see each other perfectly fine. But this is a situation where Hesselden will be thinking, do not overtake me, do not overtake me, do not overtake me. I mean, do you think these guys, Gavin, are like Hesselden and Hulkenberg, while they're driving around in the positions they are at the moment, do you think they're mathematically trying to work out who's on what points?
I can tell you who will be for damn certain. Hulkenberg and Hesselden will be.
Daniel Hesselden.
I think they're just having a lot of fun out there tonight, or at least it looks like it anyway. It's brilliant to watch.
It definitely is. But Casey has managed to get ahead of Hesselden, with Hesselden having a little bit of a moment there, which means that Hesselden's going to have to recalculate what points he will be on now. Let's see, what's the gap between Temp Fear and my track map not working, so I can't visually see. The gap between
Temp Fear and James Hulkenberg, mine is telling me 0.7 of a second.
I'm not sure that's quite right. It might be 7 seconds.
Probably.
Well, I'm looking at Hulkenberg and Temp Fear. I tell you what, Temp Fear is about to cross. No, he's into the barrier. He's into the barrier. Gone across the start-finish line. That might be damage. Hulkenberg, he's coming up to the start-finish line now, so the gap is not huge between them. So Hulkenberg could still find himself gaining a place before the end of this race. K-Slay is now overtaking Woolhouse, so that's K-Slay up to 5th place. Richie Davey, though, with everybody else, I mean, he's going to be sat there wondering, where's K-Slay gone? Well, he'll have thought that for a split second, and then he'll have thought, oh, I don't care, I'm going to go and win this race. And I tell you, it would be a bit of a turn up for the books if he did. Be a bit of a surprise winner. He's been in recent races. He's really been putting himself out there to fight for the victories and the podiums. So it would be only fair if he did manage to go and steal a victory in the last race of the season.
Now, would you like to know who's won more races, or do you want me to keep that till later?
No, go on, tell us.
Well, James Hulkenberg and Hesselden, they've both won 4 each, apart from James Hulkenberg won 1 extra last week.
All right.
So it's 5-4. 5-4 to Hulkenberg.
So if
he has just gained a place.
You're right, he has. So Temp Fear, he definitely has got damage. So Hulkenberg up to 8th place then, and Hesselden is in 7th place. So
down
yep, this is now getting very, very. This is getting crucial. We're not even half. Well, we are at about halfway through the race, and this is kind of crucial. Hesselden in 7th place would score 9 points. Hulkenberg in 8th place would score 8 points, which means it would go Hulkenberg's way. But as we've seen in the first half of this race, anything can happen. Anything at all can happen. Now, where's K-Slay gone? K-Slay, he overtook Woolhouse. I've got a feeling that K-Slay is on an absolute rampage at the moment.
I'm looking at his first sector on this lap. It's quicker than anybody else.
Yeah.
That's one of the quickest of the race. Yeah. That's almost like qualifying sector one, that is.
Well, let's see. I mean, Neotig is the short run from the Acqua Minerale to the Variante Alta ahead of him. So over the course of the next 14 laps, Casely may be able to close that gap in. Dave the Harp's pulled away from Neotig. Killer Corkin, he's in the pits from second place. So time for him to change his tyres. And I would say that's definite one-stop strategy there. So he'll be absolutely buzzing if he has been able to make a one-stop strategy work. He's dropped down to fourth place and he's on the move again. Richie Davey, if he's on a two-stop strategy, he's going to be going another probably 4 or 5 laps. 4 maybe, and then going for the pits. Well, okay, where's...
This isn't over, because I've just been looking at the gap between Hasselden and Hulkenberg.
Sorry, Steve, gonna have to cut you off because me and Gavin were watching exactly the same thing there as Killer Corkin came out the pits. Woolhouse went past him like a bat out of hell, ended up in the gravel though. Hesselden has now gained a place on Woolhouse, so Hesselden is now up to 6th place with Woolhouse in 7th place, and Killer Corkin, after his pit stop, has come out in 5th place. So go on, Steve, what was the gap between Hesselden and Hulkenberg?
About 16 seconds, but it's only getting bigger. The gap's getting bigger at the moment.
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, Hulkenberg, he's only just now into the Tamburello corners. So, yeah, he's hurting. He is, I can tell you now, mentally, he's gone, I think he's gone from, Woolhouse, he's off. He's just had a big off. And he's reset to track, which is a bit of a no-no. He's got damage that could benefit Hulkenberg. That could benefit Hulkenberg there. But Hesselden...
I'll tell you what, he went off at such a speed, I thought it was lag.
Right, Steve, you keep an eye on Hulkenberg, see whether he catches up to Woolhouse there. Gavin, what are you watching at the moment?
Just watching Hesselden catching up to Killer Corkin. Seems to be gaining bits and bats of time, but nothing significant. But we'll stay with it. We'll see what happens.
Well, Killer Corkin, who's just come out of the pits, it'll be interesting to see what sort of lap time he's able to do on this next lap, and what it's like in comparison to Hesselden. I mean, go on.
Sorry, it was a back marker. It's okay. I just saw. No, was it Woolhouse? Yeah, it was Woolhouse entering the pits. I thought someone was moving out of the way for Hulkenberg, but it was Woolhouse entering the pits. So James Hulkenberg is up to 7th.
Okay, so that means if it finished in the positions they're in now, Hesselden's just had a bit of a moment. Oh, that's cost him a tiny little bit of time, but if it finished in the positions they're in now, Hesselden would be scoring 10 points and Hulkenberg would be scoring 8 points. So it would be a 1-point gap between them. If Hesselden can just gain 1 more position, it wouldn't make any difference. He needs to gain 2. Really?
Well, Casely, ahead of him that might. Yeah, go on.
Casely, we said he was on a charge, and the gap wasn't that big between him and Neotig. It's now going to grow because he's managed to get ahead of Neotig.
Oh, so Hesselden off again.
Oh. So Casely's moved up to 3rd place, but what happened there, Gavin? What happened to Hesselden?
Just the same as a couple of laps ago. He come off the curb as he were coming into the S's, just spat him wide.
Do you think maybe Hesselden's into that frame of mind now of maybe I don't need to do anything, I just need to finish ahead of Hulkenberg, and he could put himself into a situation like Hulkenberg did?
I would say the pair of them knows that the way this race has gone for both of them so far, you can't take anything for granted. They're going to you just got to go as fast as you can, as quick as you can.
Agreed. Richie Davey still leading this race. I'm trying to think. He's on a. I believe he's on a 2-stop strategy. We didn't see him make a pit stop earlier on. Dave the Harp, he's now up into 2nd place, but Casely can see him. So I think Casely had a little less damage than Hulkenberg, but Casely on an absolute charge and may be able, well, I think he will be able to catch Dave the Harp and take 2nd place. Whether Richie Davies going to be catchable or not, I don't know, because I think Casely has still got a stop to make.
Sorry, Hulkenberg's just gone wide at one of the Tamburello chicanes. Actually, no, it's not Tamburello, it's the next one, which is the Villeneuve. I was just about to say, he is, at the moment, actually lapping quicker than Hesselden. Maybe that's because of Hesselden's last lap, he had a bit of an off. So they keep coming and going between the lap times at the moment. One lap, one's going a bit quicker than the other, and then vice versa. So anything yet could happen.
Okay, Woolhouse, after pitting for repairs a lap or so ago, he's now running in 8th place. Andy Russell in 9th, and Woolhouse and Andy Russell, they're fighting for position in the standings. They're on exactly the same amount of points. Whoever finishes ahead of the other in this race finishes ahead of the other in the standings. And Front Row Racing RI, his
second, overtaking manoeuvre down the start finish.
So he's dropped Dave the Harp down to 2nd place, and I've missed it, but I will just mention that I think both Front Row Racing RI and Temp Fear are out of this race, so disappointment for those two guys. K-Slay though, now up into 2nd place. It's time for one of you two to try and work out what that gap is between Richie Davey and K-Slay.
Saw that in a moment. Hulkenberg into the pits, so he's gone for a pit stop.
Hesselden is just leaving the pits as well, so both Hesselden and Hulkenberg making their final stops of the race. I don't think Woolhouse is close enough to come out or get ahead of Hulkenberg, so Hulkenberg will hold position with Hesselden 6th. And the car behind, oh, I tell you what, the car behind Hesselden is Richie Davey, the race leader.
Wow.
Now, yeah, wow, I've second that.
Yeah, I'd third it. Well, I could have said that a bit like Roy Keane says third. I third it. But Hesselden's now in a situation of he's going to be getting blue flags. He's got to get his foot down and pull away from Richie Davey, otherwise he's going to have to slow down. Now, okay, Hulkenberg's quite a way behind Hesselden at the moment, but I think for these guys, every millisecond could count in this race. Oh, and what is that I can see hitting the camera lens? That's water, guys.
Oh dear, it is. And it's not a little bit either.
No.
And some of these guys have just done pit stops, and I don't know whether... Well, what are the tyre choices here? Do they go straight for full wets, or is there inters?
Well, there is only a full wet tyre, but Gavin, do you remember what happened at Donington?
I do, when we were absolutely hell-bent that they were driving around on wet tyres. Were they? No.
Yeah.
They were full slicks.
They're all on conditions. Yeah, they're all on full slick. So even though the rain is coming down at the moment, I don't think we'll see anybody pitting for wet tyres unless they're not in the know. But this could still... Go on. Richie's got...
Serious rain.
It is serious rain. Richie Davies got some serious speed though. He's about to overtake Hesselden legitimately. Hesselden's making it... It's not making it easy for him. Hesselden's actually just ran a little bit off track there. But Richie Davey, he'll be loving this. He likes it when it gets a little bit wet. It's almost like he comes alive and the party starts. Oh, the rain's really coming down heavy now, isn't it? But I mean, these conditions, even if the drivers do stay on the slick tyre, the track is still going to be slippy. The curves are going to be slippy. I was having a quick look.
It's made me go all nervous. All this wet weather. I tell you what, I don't know what the drivers are thinking, but I tell you, it has put goosebumps on my arms.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, if you're getting nervous, how do you think the drivers are feeling? I mean, this race has had everything so far. I wouldn't be surprised if it starts snowing as well. I mean, Hesselden and Hulkenberg, they're still sitting 6th and 7th place, which puts the championship in the favour of Hulkenberg at the moment. But with 9 laps to go, there's still anything can happen.
I'm not going to sing.
Andy Russell, he's in the pits. Someone else has just pitted. Who is that that's just pitted? Dave the Harp. I'm not sure if K-Slay has just pitted. No, Dave the Harp has pitted. So...
Just on his way out.
Yep, so he's still in 5th place at the moment. The rain is definitely coming down. Richie Davies into the pits, but we expected this. We expected Richie Davies to pit for his second stop. This is a tyre wear stop. It may show us that he goes to wet tyres, but I don't think he will. Knowing what happened in Donington, I think he'll stay on the slick tyre. Killer Corkin, he's up to 2nd place at the moment, so with Dave the Harp having made his pit stop, that promotes Killer Corkin to 2nd. Killer Corkin, though, wasn't racing when we went to the Donington circuit in these cars, so he may not know about how these tyres will handle, but he'll soon find out. I mean, basically, guys, you drive around until you get that feeling of, yeah, I think I need to change these tyres.
Yeah. And the gap is coming down between Heselden and Hulkenberg. Last time I checked it with you guys, it was about 16 seconds. It's now about 8 or 9 seconds.
Ooh.
8 laps remaining. That could get seriously interesting towards the end.
It could
I'll keep an eye on it.
Casely is catching up to Killer Corkin, who is in 2nd place. Dave the Harp's now in 4th. He's managed to get past Neotig. We've missed it. The rain is really falling heavy now. The cockpits of the cars will be filling with water, so if the drivers have been on their drinks bottles, they'll be fine. They should cup the hand and take a swig. So Neotig and Dave the Harp maybe having an overtake going here, depending on Neotig's straight line speed. He won't be able to see much in all that spray, but he's just about alongside. Can he go for the move up the inside into Tamburello? He tries it. Dave gives him the room. Maybe able to go for a switchback. He's looking, but Dave's covered it off. You've got to be careful on the curbs.
On it, absolutely on it.
Sorry, Neotig, he's just gone off. It got onto the curb, a little bit too slippy. And he's dropped off the back of Dave. You say Hulkenberg's on it?
6, 7. Yeah, he is. He's on it. He's lapping a hell of a lot quicker than Heselden. To about 2.5 seconds a lap. Wow.
Well, let's have a look.
On that last lap, he was massively quicker.
Well, I'm going to have a look at last laps now. Richie Davey did a 2:14, but he made a pit stop. Killer Corkin a 1:46.6. Casely only a 1:47.4, so Killer Corkin pulling away from Casely. Richie Davies just done a 48.8. Dave the Harp, he's done a 49.7. Neotig a 48.6. Heselden a 47.0. Hulkenberg a 44.7. So as Steve says, he's not just faster, he's a hell of a lot faster. At least 2 seconds faster.
Quicker in the first sector. That first sector alone, 1 second quicker. Wow.
So, I tell you what, Heselden and Hulkenberg...
He's just in the wall.
Oh, he's off.
Yeah, he was just coming...
Off. Heselden off as well.
Has it got too wet? Has it got to that point?
I think it very well might have done, but Heselden has just lost so much time on this lap.
Well, the gap is down to about 5 seconds.
Yeah, that gap has really come down. Now, these two might not be racing for the victory on the track here, but I think for Hulkenberg, if he's going to go and win the title here, he would like to do it ahead of Heselden. Richie Davey, though, he's coming into the Variante Alta, and he was very, very twitchy on the straight. I think you guys might be right. I mean, this is getting quite wet, but I'm fairly sure we saw it wetter at Donington, and Richie Davey, he's absolutely pushing it hard. I'm wondering if Richie Davey...
I would say that it was definitely wetter at Donny.
Yeah.
And James Hulkenberg was nearly 3 seconds quicker on that lap than Heselden. So that gap is going to be nothing in 2 laps' time. Killer
Corkin, I think he's made a pit stop. He's down in 5th place. Off, or he's made a pit stop. No, he's made a pit stop. That could be for wet tyres, or it could just be for new tyres. Visually, it looks like wet tyres. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, Steve. We were seeing grooves all the way through the Donington race, and they were all on slicks all the way through. Now, he might be on the wet tyres, but he might not be. I mean, for everybody else, they've had the experience of Donington, so they won't be on the wets. I mean, Richie Davey, he made his pit stop. It'll probably look like he's on wet tyres, but knowing what happened at Donington, I don't think he would have put them on. Hesselden, he's struggling, he's going sideways on the straight. And Hulkenberg
can see him.
Yeah, well, he can't just see him, he can smell him.
And that's not because he smells bad. He is right up his exhaust.
Oh, yeah. Now, like I say, I mean, Hulkenberg, the positions they're in now, Hulkenberg takes the title. I'm wondering if Richie Davey may have a big enough gap to pit and come out, like pit, put wets on and come out again. But as we've seen in other races, as quick as the rain can start and fall, it can stop and dry up. So if a driver gambles for the wet tyres, it might work for a lap or two, and then it's totally out the window. I think that's the gamble that these guys don't want to take.
Last lap from Hesselden, a 1 minute 50.2. James Hulkenberg, a 1:45.5.
So the pain has switched again for these two drivers. Hulkenberg was loving it at the start, Hesselden wasn't. Then Hulkenberg wasn't loving it, and Hesselden was. And now
he's going to overtake him. He's
not yet. He's not.
Move.
It's not yet. He's not. But Hesselden is now feeling the pain, and Hulkenberg is loving it. We've got a car facing the wrong way. I think that might be Woolhouse. At least he's done the right thing there, waited for the cars to pass before he spins it round. But I do think that Hulkenberg will be going past Hesselden, Steve. I do think you're right there. Just possibly not yet. I think heading up to Tamburello is where we may see it happen.
Maybe, or even up towards the Variante Alta,
He's
which
right.
is the next corner.
Yeah, he's right on him now. He's got half a chance, but the Variante Alta, it's not chicane. You really want to go side by side through. They're going to try it. Hesselden just manages to hold ahead.
Killer Corkin's not far ahead of this trio either.
No, he's not. I mean, that's what I was just trying to have a quick look at. Hulkenberg is now ahead of Hesselden on the run down. Oh no, he's off. Oh. He's had a big wiggle. Now he's in the gravel. Hesselden will be loving that one. Oh, this is getting interesting. Richie Davey will hate us for not watching him up at the front. Apologies, Richie. It'll be typical. This will be a point where you don't have a crash.
I'm just wondering whether Hulkenberg's actually been able to work it out mathematically that he doesn't need to overtake him, because the way he's driving, he wants to guarantee it and finish ahead.
He wants to win it by being ahead of him, even if it is for 6th and 7th place. So that is Hulkenberg, and I was right, into Tamburello. Hulkenberg up to 6th place. Next in line is Killer Corkin. I mean, let's see. I mean, if Hesselden had been able to get ahead of Killer Corkin and Hulkenberg stayed in 7th, they'd have been on exactly the same points. Where I think Killer Corkin may be a little bit of a sitting duck here, because Hulkenberg, he's on him already.
Do you think that's the fact that Killer Corkin may be on them full wets that he's not aware of, that he could have stayed with the slicks?
I think it could be. What about you, Gav?
Possibly. It could be a case of that he wasn't at the Donny race, he just doesn't know. It's one of them things, you wouldn't imagine it possible to go around in these conditions on a set of slicks.
Yeah. I mean, when we were commentating on the Donington race, go on, Steve.
Hesselden's just had a bit of a moment. It did look like he was going to be getting close to Killer Corkin, but he was on the grass for a moment there. Okay.
So for Hesselden, he knows what this means now. He really does. But I've got to say, hats off to Richie Davey. He's been absolutely phenomenal since Kay Slay and Hulkenberg had their crash. He was gifted the lead, and he's been absolutely on it since. I mean, Kay Slay, I don't know if he's closing that gap in or not. I mean, what were their last lap times? Richie Davies, I think that might be Killer Corkin getting rid of the slick tyres. That might be someone having said to him, go and put the slicks back on. Richie Davies' last lap, a 1 minute 59. Kay Slay's a 1:45.8. So Kay Slay has been picking up the pace. I just don't know what the gap is between those two. Richie's over the start-finish line. It's got to be a good 15. Sorry, Gavin?
Yeah.
1 146.5.
Oh,
his last lap was a 146.5. Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Of Rich Davey, and Casey, who's just about to finish his lap, was a 143.7. So 3 seconds nearly on that one.
The sun's coming out, guys. The sun's coming out, which means the track is going to begin drying up. The lap times will drop down again. I mean, I think the gap between Casey and Richie Davey is too big for Casey to pull in by a long shot.
What is the gap?
I'm guessing about 15-16 seconds.
I'm starting to wonder why I bought the stash up, because every time I'm not commentating, it works. When I'm commentating, it just does an epic shit.
Okay, the gap is 14 seconds at the moment, so I don't think he's got enough laps remaining at this current pace to make a challenge.
No, he'd have to. I mean, he'd have to gain effectively 7 seconds a lap. Hulkenberg, though, running in 5th place at the moment. Hesselden has got ahead of Killer Corkin, especially with Killer Corkin making a pit stop. But the rain is now beginning to stop. The track is already looking a little bit drier, so the drivers will be a little happier about that one. Killer Corkin, he's running in at 7th place. I hope he hasn't pitted again and put wets on. Visually it looks like wets, but we know that necessarily might not be right. Andy Russell, he's in 8th place, and I think Woolhouse is out of the race, which means that Andy Russell will jump ahead of Woolhouse in the standings. Oh, disappointment for Woolhouse there, huge disappointment.
Something else to bear in mind, we've got Rich Davey leading and Neotig in 4th. So Rich Davey will still be able to jump ahead of Neotig to take 4th place in the standings.
Well, let's see. I mean, Richie Davey, if he takes 25 points, that's going to put him on 107. Neotig is currently in 4th place. That's 13 points for him, and that would put him on 100. So yeah, you're right. Richie Davey could effectively jump up to 4th place in the standings. I mean, I would have loved to have known where Joyfin would have slotted into all of this as well. Well, let's see. I mean, who else? Dave the Harp. Dave the Harp, he's in 3rd place at the moment. That'd be 11 points for him. That'd put him on 93. So he would jump ahead of Duofin, but not ahead of Neotig. Now Neotig can see Dave. The gap's not huge, but with only this lap and one more to go, I don't think he's going to be able to do anything about it. Well, Hulkenberg is closing up to Neotig. I think Hulkenberg's trying to push for 4th place now, you know. I think he's too far back, but I'm going to give it a try.
You might as well give it a go.
Richie Davey, he has started the final lap of the race. His last lap, a 1 minute 43.7. And I've got to say, Richie has been absolutely on it in this race. I mean, I mentioned earlier on, he's been there or thereabouts for a few events and not quite had the luck of the draw to stay in the race and fight for the victory. Today has been a completely different story. It's other people that haven't had the luck, and he's on the final lap of the race in the lead.
He just needs to make sure his connection can last just this one more lap.
You've got to curse him now, haven't you?
Lap.
Gavin, tell him he's cursed him.
I
don't have to tell him. He knows that anyway.
Yeah, he said it on purpose, trust me. Okay, Gavin, as Richie Davey is on the last lap of the race, I mean, what are your thoughts about how this race has gone? I mean, what kind of questions you'll be thinking of asking the Richie Davey, Dave the Harp, Case Lane, Dave the Harp in the podium interviews?
To be honest, all the questions that I kind of had lined up were for Hesselden and James Hulkenberg.
Well,
so I'm going to be pretty dull in the podium interview, to be honest.
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. I think, considering that they have had a championship battle down to the final race, and it's not over yet. I reckon we invite them into the chat party as well, but we tell them they can't speak until the last moments. But Richie Davey, he's going to cross the line to take victory for round 10 of the PCF. That's if he doesn't crash it before he gets there. But it is a victory for Richie Davey in Imola. It was a great win, a fantastic way. And Kay Slay, what a race. I mean, he was an outright on the cards winner for this one. Bit of unluck, well, bit of bad luck, but it's second place for him. If he could get some luck, he would storm some of these races. Dave the Harp, he is in third place. He's got quite a few corners to go, and I think he'll be fairly happy with third place, except for the fact that Richie Davey will have gone and won the race. Oh, okay, Richie Davey and Dave the Harp on the podium at the same time, with one of them having won the race. That'll get interesting.
Might need separate rooms for the interviews.
Might do. But Dave the Harp, he is making his way now up to the start-finish line. He's going to cross the line and take third place. A very well-deserved race and result for him. And then Neotig closely behind him. He's going to cross the line in fourth. Should be very, very pleased with that one. Killer Corkin is not in fifth. It's Hulkenberg that is in fifth. He knows what this means. This result right now confirms James Hulkenberg as the Front Row Racing PCF Season 3. But if he conks out of fuel now and doesn't cross the line, that'd be really funny, and he won't win. He's milking this now. He's milking it, but he does cross the line to become the champion, and Hesselden crosses the line in sixth place. It's been a fantastic season-long battle for those two guys. I think it'll be a huge disappointment for Hesselden in many respects as well. And Killer Corkin now crossing the line, a great race from him. Seventh place, unfortunately, though, with the rain mixing up his strategy potentially, but a fantastic result for him nonetheless. And Andy Russell, I think he may have crossed the line in eighth, or he may not have done.
I think he did.
Yeah, I mean,
sure.
once Richie Davey had crossed the line, then all he had to do was cross the line. But a fantastic race there, an absolutely fantastic race. I mean, Richie Davey will be absolutely buzzing about that one, as will I think Kay Slay and Dave the Harp. So we will invite those three guys in for the podium interviews, but I am also going to invite in Hulkenberg and Hesselden. That is if Hesselden is still online. He may have decided, I'm off, because he wouldn't be expecting it, but we will invite him anyway. We'll have to keep them under control while we do the proper podium interviews bit. But Richie Davey, I mean, what a way to end the season for him, taking the victory. Absolutely fantastic.
He'll be hoping to have something similar with the cars for the next season, because he's really looked like he's enjoyed it, just not had the fortune through this season.
That is true.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, right, guys, take a breather, because it's about to get very busy in here. So we'll prepare ourselves. I mean, Hulkenberg will be bouncing off the ceiling. He'll be Skyping the missus. I won. What prize do I get? Well, Hesselden has joined us. Hesselden, we know you didn't get onto the podium, but we've invited you in anyway. We will get to yourself and Hulkenberg once we interview the top three drivers. But massively unlucky there for you. Dave the Harp's now joined us. If you guys could just make sure you got your microphone set to allowed to be shared as we wait for Richie Davey, Kay Slay and Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg has joined us. Hulkenberg will give you one opportunity to have a cheer, and then you'll have to be quiet while we interview the podium sitters.
Well done, James.
No, you interview them, and then I'll.
He's not as happy as we do. We wouldn't be as happy as we would want to be. Kay Slay has joined us. I think we're just waiting on Richie Davey now. If someone could check for me. We'll get to the interviews in a moment, but if you guys could just make sure you got all of your microphones set to allowed to be shared. Dave's already sparked one up.
Here.
Oh, is Richie Davey with us?
He is. Over to you for the questions.
Richie,
before you drop me in it.
Richie, are you there? He's only just joined on mine. So Richie Davey joins us then for the podium interviews. Richie, if you could just make sure you got your microphone set to allow to be shared. And I've only really got one thing to say. What a race! It's finally happened. The luck came your way. You got to the end. You won the race. The rest of them are slow.
Yep.
It looked like an interesting race in those early stages. There was a lot going on. You were running in third place, catching up to Hulkenberg. He has a bit of a wide moment. You get up to second, and Casely seemed to run away with it a little bit. Was it frustrating in that opening portion of the race?
No, to be honest, I weren't even expecting to be up there.
So
I hadn't even played the game for a week.
A nice surprise then.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, everyone disappeared.
I know, I thought Casey's got to have crashed with Killer Corkin or someone.
It wasn't quite Killer Corkin. It was Hulkenberg.
Was it?
Yeah, it was Hulkenberg. But they did have a crash. It allowed you to take the lead, and once that happened, there was no stopping you really.
Nah. I nearly messed up there. I don't know if you saw it at the end.
Heading up to the start-finish line?
Nah, it was like before that fast right-left thing, you know, that small right-left.
Yeah.
I've done a 360 there.
Oh, we didn't see that, but now we know about it. I mean, interesting question for you now. The rain came. It looked like it got wet, but not as wet as Donington. But it came at the point of you doing your strategic second stop. Now, just to clarify it for the viewers, did you keep the slicks on?
Yeah.
So, was it comfortable on the slicks, or was there a point when it got wet where it did actually begin to get a little bit slippy?
It did a bit, just in certain corners. Kept losing it. The rest of the track was sound though.
Well, you may have been losing it, but you've definitely not lost today. It is victory for you, Richie Davey, at Imola. I'm going to hand over now to Gavin and Front Row Racing GP. If you've got any questions for Richie Davey.
I'll let GP go.
Are you sure? I don't mind you going first.
No, you're alright, you go.
To you,
Okay.
to me, to you, to me.
To you. Chuckle Brothers. Yeah. Richie, why is it that when you're in a race when it's wet, whether it be on project cars or on F1, you seem to be more ahead of the game than most others?
I don't know, I just love it wet, you know what I mean? Just love it wet.
It just seems to, I mean, with Jenson Button, he seems to come through in the wet quite well, and it just seems to be the same with you. If there's any bit of wet rain out there, a wet rain? Rain's always wet. Whenever there's any rain, you just seem to be carrying on, just going as if it's not even wet. We've seen it on both games now, and I just think it's amazing that you're able to do that. I just wondered if there's anything that you were keeping up your sleeve.
I reckon it's good helmet protection that gives good vision.
Yeah. I don't know why. It's just one of them things. I'm better in the wet.
Well, it definitely worked today. Gavin, any questions for Richie Davey?
When the accident happened, obviously between Casely and Hulkenberg, that seemed to open the race up for you. Did you really put much thought to that accident, or just ignore it and carry on? Really?
No, I was still going to stick to my plan and do it one stop. But then I hit the barrier there, so I had to pit early.
Yeah.
But I was still 30 seconds in front or something, so I thought, happy days.
Yeah. Basically, you got a pit stop in the pocket, hadn't you, really, then?
Yeah.
I've just got one more question for Rich Davey, and that is, at the start of the race, was it on your mind about Heselden and James Hulkenberg having the title decider, or was you just forgetting that and just going for it?
No, I don't even care about that. If they go my way, then it's tough. Who won anyway?
We'll let you know in a minute. Okay, we're going to move on to second place finisher now at Casely. Very well done there, Richard Davey. Fantastic win.
Cheers.
On to Casely. You know what, Casely? Previous or recent races, I've pretty much said exactly the same thing to you when it comes to the podium interview. Today, though, I'm going to do it slightly differently. Simply phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Qualifying, dominated it, effectively. Start of the race, dominated it. Absolutely mint, untouchable. What happened on the exit of the pit lane?
Hulkenberg was a little slow through one. I went for a switchback, and then at the last minute it just looked as if his car went left a little bit. Whether it was lag or a bit of oversteer, but as I went past, my rear tyre caught his, so yeah, into barrier damage.
Was it a painful moment? Or was, because I mean, at that point when you'd made that pit stop, you came out right behind, was it right behind Hulkenberg, right ahead of right next to Hulkenberg, so effectively you'd got a pit stop on him, so you were looking really, really comfortable. How painful was that in lap with the damage?
Oh, it was really bad. I was pretty much on 90-degree lock right, so yeah, lost about 40 seconds I think.
Well, however painful that lap was for you, it was about 1,000 times more painful for Hulkenberg. Gave us great viewing though.
DP, can I just jump in?
Yeah.
Can I just say, apologies to Casely, but I'd had a few moments, the rear end of the car was literally like a bucking Bronco. And soon as I got in front of him down into turn one, I thought I much prefer to let him go because I knew I wasn't fighting Casely. Come round turn 1, 2 and 3, and then literally as I'm touching the throttle, the rear end just completely went, and I were a passenger and I whacked into Casely, so massive apologies for Casely.
Okay, after that then, you make your second pit stop in 2 laps, you repair the damage, and I've got to say, Casely, absolutely fantastic again. To get from the position you was in back up to second place, ridiculously fast throughout the whole of the race. How enjoyable was it working your way back through the field?
I think you've asked me this question every race.
Yeah, that is the same question.
But yeah, it was good. Frustrating in a way, but yeah, from I think I was 8th or 7th to get back to second. Yeah, it was fun.
Well, it puts you, I think it pretty much stamps you as a contender for future seasons because the pace is there. I'm going to hand over to my co-commentators for any questions they've got for Casely. We'll go with Gavin first this time.
Did you, at any point during the rain at the end of the race, want to put the wets on, or did you? Because you seem to have some savage pace at the end of that race.
No, the rain came just as I was going to make my pit stop anyway, so I just put the slicks on.
Yeah.
And because of what happened in Donington, the wets just don't work, so I just put slicks on.
Fair play. Seems to help you anyway, let's put it that way.
It definitely did. GP, over to you.
I just wanted to know from Casely whether he feels that he's showed this league exactly what he could do with putting it on pole at most. Well, from what I've seen, often enough he's been putting it on pole, but he's just not been fortunate to turn it into victories. But so basically, next season, do you see yourself as a contender for the championship?
I'd like to think so. As you said, I've been quick at some races, but the issue for me was I've just been too aggressive on the tyres, so I've had to make an extra stop, whereas Hulkenberg, Heselden and others have always done like a 1 or a 2 compared to my 2 or 3. So if I can get ahead of that, then hopefully, yeah.
So it could come down to cars then, or cars it could be next, which would be interesting to see what happens.
Yep.
Well,
Thank you. Well done with your second place.
Yeah, very well
Thank you.
done. A fantastic race from yourself there. Very enjoyable to watch. We'll move on now to Dave the Harp, who took third place. Dave, got to be happy with the podium finish there in a race where there was so much going on around you. Was it a comfortable race, or was it a little frustrating having Neotig not far behind for a lot of the race?
No, I was quite comfortable there for most of the time. I managed to hold my position off the start, and I just had another clean race, and I was sort of pulling away from Neo at the beginning of the stints, but he was gaining more on me towards the end. But after the first two, and then going to the last stints, and he weren't going to catch me because he never on the first two. So, although he did pass me in the pits, didn't he? On one of my pit stops.
Yes, he did, yeah. Yes, he did. Because I think we may have missed you getting back past him. I could be wrong with that one, but I mean, it was a fantastic race by yourself. I mean, at the end of the day, if people are going to be falling off the track, if you can keep it on the track, there's a chance of finishing ahead of them. At one point, though, Killer Corkin got himself into the mix, running in second place. Was it crossing your mind at that point that you might actually have to go and hunt him down and catch him?
I didn't think I was going to catch him actually, but then he made another pit stop, I think, and I managed to stay ahead.
We think he may have pitted to put the wet tyres on, because out of all of the drivers, he's one that didn't race at Donington, so he wouldn't have had that experience. So we think that was perhaps the downfall of his race. But okay, slightly different non-racing question for you now, Dave. The points you've scored in the standings will jump you ahead of Duofin, but not ahead of Neotic, I don't think. Richie Davey, though, is going to jump even further. Is the rivalry still there? Is there going to be some conversation after the race of I've got more points than you, or you've got more points than you, me, well done?
No, it's... I don't know what's happened with me form in these cars. It's been up and down, but it's never been up with the rest. So I just look forward to next season now, and hopefully I can find the pace that I used to have.
Hopefully. I'm going to pass over on to my co-commentators for any questions they have for Dave. So Steve, if you'd like to go first.
Well, you kind of pinched my question a little bit, so I'm still going to kind of ask it, but it'd be slightly differently worded. Which is, before the race, Dave, you were only 1 point behind Rich Davey. Were you going into the race knowing that you were only 1 point behind him, and your plan all along was to try and beat him? And were you frustrated with the fact that Rich Davey came away with a win?
Well, I did actually say, I was in a chat party with James, I said, I want to beat Richie today. But as soon as the race started, he was gone, and that was it.
Oh, so that's why he tried to take him out then.
Right, Gavin, over to you. Any questions for Dave the Harp?
Well, I did have, but you couldn't nix it. But it don't matter, I'm going to ask it anyway.
Go on then.
As our outgoing champion, you've been nowhere near really where you were last season, obviously in last season's car. Is there anything that's fundamentally different this season from last season for you?
Well, I think there's one thing, and I think it's the main thing, it's practice time. My practice time is probably halved or more due to me starting a new job in February. So.
Well, we've seen it.
That was the main factor.
We've seen it many times that practice can have a huge effect. But then Richie Davey would say, "I don't know what you're on about. I didn't practice, and I just won."
You don't need to practice with a pad.
We won't start all that. We won't start all that. Dave, let's go for a race at night in a car that's got no headlights and see if you follow the green line. Anyway, very well done to Dave the Harp, taking third place. And if I remember rightly, Dave, as Gavin's just mentioned, you were last season's PCF champion, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, it's time then for you to hand that crown over to the new PCF champion, which is James Hulkenberg. So, Dave, commiserations, but you've got to hand that crown over. Hulkenberg, congratulations. You may want to give the crown a bit of a clean. Oh my God. Oh my. That's why he's been sat there quietly. That's why he's been Googling it. Hang on, here's the first question. When did you go and find that? How many days ago in preparation?
Oh, no, I just thought of it now. Bit of Freddy, come on.
I don't know, talk about rubbing it into Hesselden's face even more. I'll tell you what, I reckon we do Hulkenberg and Hesselden together here. Because Hulkenberg, you are the new champion, but for both yourself and Hesselden, yeah, very well done. For both of you, and the race was one of surprises in many respects. So Hesselden, if you'd like to join us for the conversation as well, absolutely fantastic putting up the fight that you did throughout the course of the season. Commiserations to you that sneaky sod has gone and stolen it at the last race. But kind of question to the both of you, how emotionally draining was that race?
Well, I don't know what happened with Esselden's race, but mine just literally, the first 5 laps were going to plan, and then the rear end didn't want to play ball with me. It was going the opposite way of what I wanted it to do, and I've done so much practice this week. I've never done a race where I've done so much practice, come into a race and then the car handles completely different. So yeah, it was a bit mental. It felt like the rear tyres were cold. So when Richie Davey were coming up behind me, in a way I was thinking, you know what, it's not even worth fighting, because I'm not even... I mean, ideally you want to come away and win the race in style, but at the same time I was like, Esselden's the target. If I can beat him, that's the main thing. And yeah, the rears, they felt like they were cold, and I only realised on exit of the last pit that what they were doing, they were doing the complete opposite. They were overheating, and I came out of that last pit stop right behind Esselden, and I thought there's no chance. And then literally, as if a sign from God, it started raining. Cooled the tyres down, and I were off.
We don't need to ask James any questions really, he's covered most things. He had completely ignored my question altogether, so I'll put it a slightly different way. The opening part of the race goes really, really well. All of a sudden it goes to absolute horse manure. How was that transition of, okay, I can do this, oh God, no.
That lap where me and Neotig tangled, I was like, that is it, it's over, no chance. And then I came in from my pit stop and I thought, hang on, Esselden's only about 20 seconds in front. And I knew from the qualifying that I were about a second a lap quicker. But then the rear end just did not want to play ball, mate, and like I say, that rain saved me. If that hadn't rained, there's no chance. But yeah, it went from absolutely gut-wrenching to
top of the world.
Absolute joy, but yeah. But that, when me and Esselden were side by side going down the hill, I were literally clinging on for dear life. I don't know if you call that, but
yeah, I think we did. I think we did. Well, I would like to quickly move on to Hesselden, because Hesselden, if you're there and you can hear us, I'm guessing your emotions have taken a little bit of a battering today.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, well done, James. Though great win, the championship and that. But yeah, I'll blame it on the celebrating England game too much last night. Still feeling it.
Well, I'll just say as well, throughout this season, Esselden has pushed me like mad. And them opening few races gave me a mountain to climb, and Esselden, no matter what, whenever I faltered, he was there to win. So it's been brilliant this year. But yeah,
A little bit of proof that Heselden did celebrate the England game too much last night was the fact that England played on Wednesday, and it's Friday today.
That was like it was yesterday, wasn't it?
Am I wrong? Oh, I thought they played on Wednesday.
Thursday.
We played Thursday.
All right, then. I'll let you off then. I'll let you off then. Well, it's probably gone midnight. Oh well, a bit of mind games never hurt anyone. But yeah, I mean, Heselden. I mean, we kind of saw in qualifying today, you weren't on the pace. We wondered whether it might be setup related, something like that. Turns out you were just over the drink drive limit.
I was getting 139s in practice, so I'm a bit disappointed that I should have took the pole and should have won, but it is what it is.
Okay.
I've got a question for Heselden, if that's okay.
No, not yet, because I want to get onto his emotions. Whereas Hulkenberg's race went from looking good, looking terrible, looking good, yours pretty much went the opposite direction. If you can put it into perspective for the viewers of what that was like, your emotion through those situations in the race.
Yeah, I was struggling to keep the car on the track really, so yeah, it's a bit frustrating when you like know you can do a decent time, but then you just couldn't do it on the day. Frustrating really, the whole race.
Okay, now I'll hand over to my co-commentators who can ask Hulkenberg and Heselden questions at will.
Alright, Heselden. What was it like to get blue flags when Rich Davey was behind you?
That's alright. I see him coming. I didn't know who it was. I didn't know if it was Casey, but then yes, Richie Davis. Well done, Richie, for the win.
Cheers.
Sorry,
Hulkenberg. Yep. First of all, congratulations.
Cheers, man.
Heselden, commiserations.
Cheers.
But the pair of you have given us brilliant racing from season start to season end. But a couple of weeks ago we were on about Heselden, you seem to have the edge in the opening maybe 3-4 races. Then Hulkenberg started coming good, and it seems to have been a season of two halves. What's your it's a question to both of you really. What's your overall season thoughts?
No, it's been fun battling. It's nice to have like a close championship battle. Don't mind too much coming second when it's like good competition, isn't it?
Yeah. Hulkenberg?
Yeah. I think the biggest turning point was the Bruno circuit. I put a fair chunk of time into working out that setup, and I've pretty much used that base setup minus wings at every single circuit since, and it's worked like an utter dream. And seeing that the season's finished now, I might as well let everybody know all I did were stiffen. With these cars, there's so much roll in them over the curves and through fast corners, and the car wants to snap, whereas when you stiffen the suspension, it's just like on rails. So
and now Hulkenberg said that we'll do a round 11 next week.
Stiffen your suspension, but yeah, no, that was literally the key. But I didn't. Obviously, don't want to let your competitors have any advantage, but I've got to say to everybody, minus one driver who's ticked me off, it's been fantastic racing with everybody.
Good stuff.
Okay, if you guys on the co-commentary team haven't got any other questions for any of the drivers, let us know if you have. Ask away.
Well, I'm done. Thank you very much. Well done to everyone.
Okay, then I'll open the floor to the drivers. If there's anything that you want to ask each other, say to each other, now's the time to do so.
Congratulations, James, my young apprentice.
Cheers, master. Yeah, no, it's been fab. I'm looking forward to the future because we're seeing some cracking drivers. And
I do have one question actually.
Go on.
But it's to everybody. What would you like to see as car for next season?
Formula A or anything open.
LMP1.
Ford Escort.
LMP1s with, we all haven't got the same car, but it's all the same class.
Yeah. Well, K-Slay, what do you like?
I'll go with Dave at LMP1.
Well, it could be open wheel, it could be LMP1, we'll just have to see, but the quality of driving in the PCF, even from last season's just got like brilliant, and I think the major factor is with these cars is if you get too close wheel to wheel, you're up in the air and you're upside down, as I've found out many times. But it's
so did Dave.
Yeah, but
wasn't it you and Dave that ended up putting Dave upside down? Yeah.
Yeah, it was second race, granted. But yeah, it's shown that we've all got a lot of respect for each other. It's cracking, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the future.
Okay, well, the rain is falling again now at the circuit, and I haven't got an umbrella, so I think it's time we just about wrap this up. What I will say is, for details of seasons going forward in the Front Row Racing Project Cars Leagues, keep an eye on Facebook. We'll update information on there. At the end of this season, we will be taking a little bit of a break. I would say it's going to be at minimum for a couple of weeks. I'm going to suggest until the Euros are finished. But yeah, keep an eye on Facebook for that. There'll be plenty of information going out about the next season. Next up on the Front Row Racing YouTube channel will be on Sunday, where James is going to strip naked and dance around to the music he's playing now. It really put me off now, James. But yeah, next up on the Front Row Racing YouTube channel will be on Sunday, 8:30 PM for the Front Row Racing PCS. The final rounds, round 8 of the Aussie V8s at the one and only Bathurst circuit. That is going to be very, very interesting. I think we'll hear a lot of cars hitting walls. That championship has been decided, but the battle for, I think, third place in the standings is still on, because I think K-Slay and Hesselden are on exactly the same points, aren't you?
No, he's 5 ahead.
Oh, he's 5 ahead. Well, if K-Slay keeps up the pace he's been showing today, and Hesselden watches another football match and celebrates it, anything could be possible. So yeah, join us at 8:30 PM live on the Front Row Racing YouTube channel for that one. But that's pretty much all from us at Front Row Racing for Season 3 of the PCS. It's been an absolutely fantastic one. So thank you to all of the drivers for taking part, all of the viewers for watching, and thank you very much to my commentary team today, Front Row Racing GP, and throughout most of the season, GT Gavin too, done an absolutely fantastic job. I've been Front Row Racing DP, this has been the Front Row Racing PCF. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all again soon.
Come on! Woo!
It's been a pleasure, guys. Listen, there's some good action in this season.